Oh, I threw it at that. That was great. The Google Assistant is kind of terrible. It's getting in the way of other speakers, or other speakers are getting in the way of it. Ooh, you know, I kind of like these cameras, but I also kind of don't. I call them average. The screen is kind of a double-edged sword. It's great to look at, but it's so shiny. Now, I like this Google Home interface, but I need some more options, so this is okay. The Pixel tablet is all over the place. I don't know if it's great or if it's terrible, but I think it's a little of both. And it's showing me that some things are changing from your old Nest system to this new Pixel system. Let's go. The new Pixel tablet starts at $500 US with options for additional storage costing another $100. It features a near 11-inch LCD display that runs on Android, Google's homegrown operating system. It's just 0.3 inches thick, has 4 onboard speakers, 3 onboard microphones, and 2 8-megapixel cameras. To power all this, Google's included their Tensor G2 for general processing and have paired that alongside the Titan M2 for security. There are 8 gigs of RAM, and depending on what model you buy, you can get either 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage. The tablet features a pressable power button that doubles as a fingerprint scanner. It's got pressable volume controls too, and a number of sensors that will help the tablet know how it's being oriented and how it's being used. That's important because the Pixel tablet is meant to double as a smart home hub of sorts. It's powered by the Google Assistant and the Google Home application, and it does so through a speaker stand that you get with your purchase. The speaker stand sits at just under 4 inches tall and at 6.6 inches wide, and it's fully encased by a cloth finish. But its biggest feature is the wireless charging that is engaged by simply placing the tablet on the stand. Since the tablet and this stand connect magnetically, everything falls into place and your Pixel tablet will start charging its 27 watt-hour battery at a maximum of 15 watts. At least, that's what happens some of the time. But as soon as you place the Pixel tablet on this charging dock, you gain a whole new set of smart home related features, including a new hub mode that can display everything from pictures of you and your family to the weather outdoors, and even some time and weather information. Plus, with a quick tap into the Google Home app, you can control all of your favorite devices in your home, or you can use Google's voice assistant to control anything you've connected to the Google Home app by voice. Any music or media that you're playing as you connect the Pixel tablet to the dock will transfer over to a better balanced 43.5 millimeter speaker. You can use Bluetooth 5.2, or you can cast to the speaker when the tablet is on the dock. You can make video calls, take pictures and video, play games, watch movies, and you can do almost any of this by voice. All of this is running on Android and backed by Wi-Fi 6 connectivity. Everything seems great when you first unpack this tablet, and there is lots to love. But not only is this a $500 smart display replacement if you have a Nest Hub, but it signals the end of some things we know and love about the Nest Hub experience, and it's missing some smart home features that we built our smart home with. So as we open this up, I'll explain what you'll love and what you won't love about the Pixel tablet, especially when compared to an iPad or a Nest Hub Max. Now, I bought the 128 gigabyte model of the Pixel tablet. It comes with its own charging speaker dot, and what this is trying to do is bridge the gap between tablet and the smart home. This could be pretty wild. So we've got a camera on the back. There's a front-facing camera as well, which is going to help with video calls. This is really intended to help you with things like Google Meet. And there is a USB-C charger. Here's the dock. Honestly, it's the same thing as a Nest Hub Max. I'll show you that in a second. Actually, this whole thing really looks like the Nest Hub Max. There's a little Google branding on the bottom here, and a little bit on the back. That's very reminiscent of what Google does. You've got the power port right here, and then you can see the 4 little spots to put your tablet on. Okay, I gotta try it. Now, I kind of just threw it at it there. When it sits on the table, man, that looks weird. It feels like it's so far leaning forward. Yeah, when you just throw it at it, it's perfect. But the standard iPad, there's a bit of a ratio difference here. And I didn't understand this going in. So there you go, there's the difference. I think that's gonna be a little bit impactful for people and a little bit frustrating. The other comparison to make, here we've got the Google Nest Hub Max. The cameras are a little bit different in terms of megapixels. This is supposed to be 8 megapixels on both the front and the back. This, I believe, was a Nest camera at 5 or 6. Now, I don't remember the exact number, but I'll put that on screen. The other thing that's a little bit different is that, you have a physical switch here.
The mic and camera are off.
So the mic and camera were just turned off.
The mic's back on.
There, I can turn it back on, and that's that switch in the back. That's quite a big difference, actually. You can't do that here. You don't have a physical microphone control. It's all software based. You can turn off the wake words here, but you cannot physically disconnect those two things, which you could do over here. The operating system is obviously pretty different. So you can see I've got the weather frog going here, but when I tap on that, I'm going to Android. I've tapped here and it's brought me into this interface. So this is a purely smart home interface, whereas this is not. I think the other physical attribute that's really different here is that. And that is something that a lot of people were a little bit disappointed with different versions of the smart displays from Google. So I just locked the screen. Now, look at it. That does change. So this is totally reacting. The accelerometer is reacting. The tensor processor that's here, it's very different. It's much more powerful than it is here. One of the nice things that Google has brought here are functions like your Nest Doorbell ringing. That will still come up on this kind of a display. So I think those kinds of experiences are really powerful and important that they made it across here. So I just rang the doorbell and I am getting a notification on the display. And there are probably ways you could use that to bring up the camera, but what you're gonna have to do is hit that, and then you're gonna have to go into cameras, and then you're gonna have to go into the doorbell. Now you can speak, now you can send little messages. And I do have the proper settings enabled, but see, if I want to now look at those settings, I have to go to open an app, and I have to hit that. So that's just unlocked the device, taken me to the app, and now I can go and look at who came to the door. But in a lot of cases, like, that is still uploading, so I can't yet see that. I can go back to the live event, and then that will help me to have the conversation with the person at the door, but it's a bit of a roundabout way. So honestly, in a lot of cases, the little notification is actually a lot better because it will take you right there. The screen is that 10.95 inch display, but it carries a 2560 by 1600 resolution. That gives it a 276 pixels per inch density, which is extremely high when you compare it to all of the other smart displays on the market today. In fact, Amazon's latest Echo Show 5 was the highest in their series at 195. Now with those dimensions, it's a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, and that can make some of the apps look a little stretched. I think Govi's lighting app looked a little off as a good example, and I've noted that some websites can be a little odd too. It's not a big deal to me because everything still looks great on the screen, as the coding that Google has used has meant that fingerprints aren't constantly showing up on the screen. And I know that because I haven't had to clean it every 3 seconds to shoot this video. But it is a very shiny display. and you will see reflections from many angles. Now, playing multimedia has been great, but I'll explain some concerns that I have with the experience when we start to talk about the Google Assistant in just a few moments. Instead, here's a demo of how it sounds both on the dock and off the dock when you're playing video content from a service like YouTube. Here's how you get many ideas for automations. When you enter into the Automations tab in the app, there's this icon in the top right. It takes you to a page called Discover, where you'll find some categories for different automations. What you should have noticed is that as I moved it on and off the dock, the switching of audio was immediate and seamless. Now, the biggest problem I have had is that sometimes I can miss the charging pins, and that's a big problem on its own. I shouldn't be missing that at all, and Google should have got that 100% right. I think that's unforgivable with a cost like this, but often half a second of kind of playing with it will get it right on the dock. One of the really nice things that I have found, so for example, if you're invited to a Google Meet and it's through your messages on a Pixel phone, here's my Pixel phone. I've received that message. Now, I sent it to myself, but you can synchronize the text messaging between the two. Now I can hit that open link and I can use any of my accounts that I've synchronized on this tablet to enter in to that meeting. So there we go, here I am, and obviously the other person can join with me. I'm just going to turn off this this discussion here. I think there's a pretty big difference here right off the hop. You know, I'm comparing this a 5A, so it's not a brand new phone from Google at all. But you look at that resolution there, you look at how that's looking, and then you look at how this camera is looking. That's pretty good. There's a pretty big difference there for me. Now, obviously, Google Meet has a lot of features these days. I can take myself to a little bit of a different area. So, and it's continually framing me. Plus, I could blur my background if I'd like. There's all kinds of new ones and other backgrounds and other styles and filters. So there's actually quite a bit here. And this is just one application. You don't have to use Google Meet. I think one of my favorite effects is that I can blur my background. So, you know, here on the Pixel, my background has been blurred all along here. So that's one of my favorite effects, and that makes sure that, you know, you're showing only the things that you want to be showing. Shows and video content sound really good to me because the speakers are balanced a little more on the medium and higher frequencies. And that goes for the tablet especially, but even the speakers on that dock are a little balanced in that direction. I can clearly hear voices, and I'm not overpowered by low-end bass when watching video. But in turn, I find that the music experience is not what I expected from the dock. The funny thing is that the speaker on the tablet is impressive. You're not going to be blown away by sound quality on these four little speakers, but how loud they can get and how each speaker can affect how it sounds is really interesting. The problem with this is if you're holding the tablet on the side, like most people do, you'll cover one or two of the speakers at some point and you will have to move your hands. That's a common problem for tablets, so I'll give Google a pass there, but you should know that. They also made a great move with the pads on the bottom of the tablet to hopefully alleviate you having to hold the tablet for long periods of time. But when you put it on the dock station, everyone who's had a listen of the Pixel tablet's dock has said that it's a little underwhelming. I think so too, and I would have liked this to sound a lot more like the Nest Hub Max. And I like that I can send Bluetooth to the tablet, or use it as a Bluetooth controller. And I like that I can cast to this. Plus, I can put it into Google Nest speaker groups and have it play with other Google Nest speakers. But in order to use the dock speaker and in order to use the cast feature, the Pixel tablet has to be on that dock. It won't even show up in lists for casting options without the tablet there. I think that this is a big mess, and I get that Google would have had to put additional connectivity and smarts into the dock in order to accomplish this, but they're charging $130 for what is essentially a mid-level speaker and a wireless charger. To me, this eliminates a lot of the usefulness and will stop me from buying other docks to place around my home, because I would have to think about moving the tablet in order to utilize the speaker. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Google made a huge mistake there, because they could have, again, dropped smart speakers into everyone's home. Anyways, you can decide for yourself if you think this sounds good enough. Enjoy the Pixel tablet compared to some of its biggest competitors. Couple of things with the Pixel tablet. Now, you have an 8 megapixel here and an 8 megapixel camera right here. So in both cases, it doesn't really matter what you're going to use. Now, there's a lot of different modes. So night sight is going to give you the same feature that we saw marketed many years ago. You could take this outside, shoot shots of stars. It takes about 2 minutes to run. You have to get this totally stable. Things like long exposure, that creates like a blurred movement in this. Portrait is really fantastic. So let's just take a picture right now. Let's have a look at that. Oh, I look drunk. There, that's looking good. And what the portrait mode does is, you can see it's kind of cut me out and it's blurred the rest of the background, and they bring up things like the brightness and the contrast a little bit, so things tend to look a little bit better. Here's the edit. There's all kinds of enhanced features, and it does take some shots here along, so you can pick different frames, and that might help you to kind of eliminate something you don't want to see. You can adjust the aspect ratios on all of your pictures. Maybe the biggest feature right here, magic eraser. So let's just say here in my phone, I don't want to see anything there, and it identified it and it got rid of most of it. So there, I can do that a few times. There we go. And it did get rid of that now. So I like that photo a lot better now. But there you go, I've hit done. And I can still apply other effects to it. So if I want to do all these other effects, you know, I want to take up that brightness and then drop off the contrast a little bit. Maybe I'm getting a little bit, you know, artistic. Bringing up the whites a little bit. You also have the panorama and photosphere and lens views. You do also get a couple of video modes. So here's the normal, here's the time lapse. You can go all the way up to 120 to 1. So, you know, that's pretty wild. You're gonna go 120 seconds before it takes another frame. And then that's gonna be your time lapse. I know a lot of you are here to understand the smart home experience, and on that note, the Pixel tablet does a fair job at bridging the gap, but this is a sign of things to come and a sign of the end of some other things you probably have in your home. Google's development of the Nest Hub experience and even now the Fuchsia operating system have taken a back seat. and this clearly shows that they will be moving on from a lot of that. That's because the Pixel tablet could be successful, and I think it could be more successful than your Nest hubs. It's got a lot of speed, and the fact that it runs on Android gives you more than enough. The hub mode is nice because it'll kick in while attached to the dock, and it'll do so after whatever time frame you'd like to set. But it also has the Google Home button at the bottom left of the screen. That little button opens up the Google Home app. The Google Home app opens directly to your favorites page. That means you can control anything that you've placed there. You can edit and reorder that page to make things make more sense for you. And I'm sure this could do all of those automation requests that you have sitting in your head right now, or at least a lot of them. But it's not there yet, and this is Google. And it's locked to the Google Home app, and it's locked to the Google Assistant. And there are a set of issues that means this isn't a full replacement of any of your Nest speakers or existing smart displays. Number one, the Google Assistant has taken a step back, and I would even say that it's taken a few steps back. It's much slower to respond with requests, taking many seconds to come back for me. It's also less accurate than it used to be, and while it's not a bad experience for most basic requests, there are too many gaps to simply glaze over it today. Now on that note, asking it to play video from Netflix or even asking for a creator on YouTube doesn't seem to work right now, and this is something that we could at least get done on other Nest Hub displays, even if the interface was very terrible. Now I've been frustrated with the responses coming back because sometimes they don't come back at all. And you can't blame my Wi-Fi either because it's Google's Wi-Fi sitting right beside this. What actually happens is that other Nest speakers answer before this almost all the time. And it's so prevalent that a Nest Hub all the way across my home and up a floor was answering when I was just speaking at a normal volume beside this tablet. If Google was smart, they would open up to a developer war of sorts. And with Matter and other smart home apps having the opportunity to produce a real smart home dashboard, this would both push Google Home to be the best app it could and give us all kinds of options to turn this into the smart display we actually want. Now on that note, the Google Home app doesn't yet provide me a way to change that favorites page per device that I'm using. I would like this favorites page to be different than my phone, and I would like to make that favorites page even person independent so that whoever's in the room can control it the way they'd like. Samsung SmartThings offers this within their app as an example. And sitting this in the same room as another Nest speaker, it can work out from that media playing perspective. But a great example of a discrepancy that will annoy you every day is that continued conversation isn't a feature available on the Pixel tablet right now. That means if two speakers are sitting in the room and you request the Google Assistant to do something, if this one answers, you have to use the wake word multiple times to run through your requests. These are issues that shouldn't exist anymore. The Google Assistant has had plenty of time to get these things right, and we've had a lot of times with far-field microphones. The Google Home app has had plenty of time to mature, and while I do like the new preview of the app, changes are slow and sometimes the changes are in reverse. But it's not all bad because I've actually had this device hear me when it's playing music at full volume and I'm just speaking to it at a normal volume. So those microphones can work well. The overall control is good in the Google Home app, and I do like the new favorites page. I like that I can get the Nest Doorbell to pop up when the doorbell is rung, and I have all my other smart home apps within a few presses. And I like the fact that there are so many widgets for those smart home apps, and I can create that secondary dashboard to see my home, and with the extra real estate on the display, it's really nice to look at. It's not that it's terrible, but it's not a direct replacement for your Nest Hubs. And to be fair, Google didn't market it that way, but since most people use smart speakers to play music and control the odd smart home device, that's the comparison and the living situation that you're gonna have in your home. So when I compare the $500 tablet to the Nest Hub Max, well, the Nest Hub Max is a thread border router. The tablet's not. There's no mention of it being a Matter controller of any type, and there is no ultrasonic detection for when you walk up to the screen to have it become that smart home hub interface it needs to be. The Nest Hub Max reacts to me walking up. It identifies me through its camera and provides me personal information and options. There's no physical disconnect of the cameras here either, like there is on the Nest Hub Max, and I can't quickly access all of my contacts to make calls. And I'm sure many aspects of this can come over time, but none of it is there today. And because this is Google, I can't tell you it's ever going to be completed. That's a complete pity because Google had all of the right elements at one time. They could still get there, but I've watched too much of their smart home experience miss the mark, miss dates for launch, and then eventually be axed. So I just can't believe that there's a promise of a smart home future with this tablet. So my advice to you is to buy it if you want an Android tablet, because that's where this experience shines. It's not top end, but it is a very good medium to medium high end Android tablet. The price is higher, but the experience is snappy, and a lot of the design decisions made by Google will lead this to be a very loved tablet in your home for a while. And because I like to dream, and I think a lot of you do too, there is a lot that Google could do with the Pixel tablet that could make it one of the most exciting products out there today. Now imagine that Google produces a much better speaker dock, one that can receive those cast requests without the tablet being there. They could push out a stylus because they can use the magnetic backing of this to store it, and the device is compatible with USI 2.0 stylus pens. They could give us a dock with charging ports that let us sit this in portrait mode or even move it between landscape and portrait modes. And they could open source or at least let the developer community build those skins that we need to make this a truly wonderful smart home display. Google could do a lot, but it's not there today, and it's not my recommendation that you try to build a smarter home with the Pixel tablet at the forefront of it. Instead, my recommendations for smart homes are in the video that's on the screen right there. That's where you'll find my recommendations for smart home hubs and how to build your home around a hub. Your home can use things like the Pixel tablet, but that video explains how the hub becomes the center of it and how you can properly add these kinds of devices around it. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, don't hate, automate.